Hello and welcome to another session of the Change Exchange, where I have another fascinating guest today. Farah Fortune is from African Star Communications. They do PR and events, and she has a very specific niche in the market. Tell me that.
From our celeb sites, we have three divisions of the company. We have celebrity PR, corporate PR, and event management. So the niche with our celeb PR is we take the unknown celebrity, and we make them the known celebrity. So we specialize in growing brands. Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll come back to that.
No problem.
But I want to go back right to the start of your life, basically, because this is about change moments.
Sure.
And it sounds as if the first really dramatic change in your life was when your parents made a choice,
Yes.
when you were 10.
10, yes. When I was 10, my dad had been working overseas. My mom was still here with all of us, and my dad was like, you're going to have more opportunities overseas. Because at the time, it was still very much apartheid, and there was certain schools we couldn't go to, certain places we couldn't go. My mom and dad could barely walk out in the streets together because my dad's quite dark, my mom's quite light. So it wasn't the easiest family life to have when you couldn't include both your parents in certain things.
Were you, as a child, aware of that? How did you experience it?
Yeah, you were aware of it because, I was aware of it purely because, I knew I couldn't go into certain things, certain shops. Before we left South Africa, my parents said, we want to show you South Africa before we leave. And we took a trip on the garden route. And I think at the time, the only hotel that would allow people of color to stay in them in Durban was the Holiday Inn. And we stayed there, and I said to my mom, I'm going to go to the pool, I'm going to swim. And she thought I meant in the hotel, but I'd actually wanted to go and swim on the beachfront, and that's why I went. And at the time, because of the segregation, there was one pool for people of color, and there was one pool for white people. And I didn't know, that there was the segregation of pools, and I ended up swimming in the pool for white people. And all I felt was somebody grab me from behind and pull me out of the pool. It was my mom in this panic saying, you can't swim here, you have to swim over there. And when I looked over there, the pool was dirty, and I was like, I'm not swimming there. And I you realize as a child, okay, maybe because, I'm different, that's why we can't do certain things. And I think more than anything, at that point you realize, okay, this is why we can't do certain things. We used to go with my mom to the store, and my mom, because my mom's very light, they'd think she was white and they'd allow her into the shops. But if they seen us standing around the corner, and my brothers are darker than us as well, so then they would ask my mom to leave because, they'd ask whose kids we were, and we're waiting for my mom. And if you were of color, you got served outside of the shop.
Yeah.
If you were white, you were allowed in the shop.
Sure, we forget, huh? We
so
forget.
yeah, and those are that's how I grew up. So I think my parents, they got tired. They got tired of living that life. My mom and dad got tired of not being able to go out in the street and hold hands without being judged or looked at. And my parents moved us out of the country. We moved to Belgium.
What difference, first to Belgium and then to the UK?
Yes,
huh?
then to the UK.
What difference did that make in your life, looking back to it now?
Moving. So much. I think it opened my mind so much, and my mindset, and just what I was capable of. I think at the time, I knew if we stayed in, looking back now, I knew if we'd stayed in South Africa, I would have only been open to going to certain universities or certain type of education. Whereas moving, it gave us so much opportunity, and we were able to see things so differently. And I was saying before when we were talking, we were there 2 days. We were in Belgium. I think it was the second day. And my dad said, let's take a walk around. I want to show you, where we're living. And I seen a black man kissing a white woman. And I grabbed my dad and I was like, tell them to stop, they're gonna get into trouble. And my dad then had to sit me down and explain, that the world is not like that. It was just South Africa. And that was a lot for me to take in as a 10-year-old child, understanding that, people's skin color is what determines how far they go in life. And I think that's when I realized that, we're all the same. It's just that our particular country that needed to get itself together. Yeah. Literally, yeah.
So what brought you back?
I actually got married. I actually met my husband overseas. He was also from here, same story. When he was young, his parents moved to Canada. He moved back for work. His company was growing really well. I was studying law at the time, and it was just easy for me to move than for him to move. So I ended up moving back. My parents had already moved back. I think I moved back in 2004. My parents moved back in 1996. But because I'd grown up in England, I didn't want to move at the time. And I think I just was a bit wary of where the country really was. And I always thought, you know, if I have children, I don't want them to experience the same childhood I grew up in. I wanted them to be a lot more open-minded. I mean, very lucky I had a child outside of the apartheid area, and she's not affected by it in the sense that she understands that people are people and their skin color doesn't make a difference. Yeah.
And how did you experience South Africa when you came back?
It was very different. It was very different to what I had experienced, being limited to going to certain places. Yeah. You know, it wasn't like that anymore. There was so much more opportunity. There was more chance for jobs. Although, when I first came back and I started looking for a job, I remember going for an interview, I won't say which company, and the lady said to me, you're very qualified for this job, but you're not dark enough. I know you're colored, but you're not dark enough. And she said, you see that lady sitting over there? And it was a white lady sitting at reception. She says, she doesn't even know her job's gone because we need to replace her with someone darker. And for me, that was like, wow. So that's where we're at right now. So that was also a lot to take in. I think I realized that we still have a long way to go, but we have come a long way too. Yeah.
But you started your own thing when you were still in your 20s. How did you get to that decision? What made you take that step?
I was tired of having a boss. I was tired of this. You know, when you're working for someone and you start your own business, you really think you're not going to work 9 to 5, and you think that having your own business, you're going to be a lot, you know, there's going to be time and you're going to be able to do so much more. No one tells me that it's not like that. But at the time, I thought it would.
You are the worst boss for yourself.
And I had a job that I was doing in the same field, and I was getting paid 12,000 Rand a month, and I was billing clients, you know, anywhere between 200,000 to 2 million a month. And I was like, but I'm getting paid 12,000 Rand and I'm handling all these accounts. Something's not right here. I'm really good at this. So I'm sure if I tried to do this by myself, I could. I originally started my company, a different company with a very crooked business partner.
Oh dear.
And that didn't go well, but it taught me lots and lots of lessons.
Like what?
Like I never wanted a business partner again. And not to say that it isn't a good thing. I think for me it wasn't a good thing. I also realized that I needed to know more about what was going on in my business in order to make sure that I never ended up in that situation again.
So next time around, you were really hands-on.
I was very hands-on
in every sense.
Yes. But in the process of having that business, because of having a crooked business partner, I lost a lot of money, and most of my money. And I had to go back to work. And from, going from this place where I'd tried to build my own company and going back to a boss, I was like, I can't do this. I really can't. And you're getting paid 12,000 a month. And at that time, I'd already been divorced, and I was a single mom. And I had to pay for my car, my rent, my child's school fees, put a roof over her head, feed her. And that was hard. That was really hard.
And you believed that you could do better on your own?
Looking back at it now, I was so cocky. I was just like, I can do this. And you realize, you don't realize how hard it actually is. And I didn't have, anyone to tell me, don't do this or do this with your money or help this or... So it was hard. But looking back, I don't think I'd change anything. I don't think I'd be here unless I had gone through all of those struggles.
What was the worst moment?
I think the worst moment is when you have a business and you're not making money yet. And I wasn't able to pay my rent. And I wasn't able to feed my child. I think that was the hardest thing. And we got kicked out of our house, and I had to live in my car for a little bit, with my daughter. And that's hard, your pride really takes a knock because you don't really tell anyone. And I mean, up until a couple of years ago, I didn't even tell my family that story because I was so, your pride just kicks in and you want people to think that you're doing well, but you're not. But I don't know, I just believed that it would work. In my heart, I just knew I was going to make this work. And eventually, it got better.
What was the contract that came through, or what changed?
I think just my understanding of saving. I very much live now, because of that, I live now by the philosophy, do I want it, do I need it? And I always ask myself that question when I buy anything, and it made such a big difference to the way I save money. And I got a little bit of work with a company that somebody had recommended me to. And it wasn't a lot of work, but it was enough to get a new place and put a deposit down. And luckily it was only like within a few weeks. Got a new place. But I mean, I was still quite broke to the point where, you know, my daughter lived on 2-minute noodles for a long time. And, you know, whatever she didn't finish of that, I used to eat. And that's how we lived, even while I had this business. And then after about 4 years, I think I started making a little bit of money. It was enough to survive. And that was great. And that was okay for me. Because a lot of people say, you know, what's your definition of success? And because I think I've been through that, for me, my definition of success is as long as my child's stomach is full and she's got a roof over her head and she's got clothes on her back. That's my definition of success. But I'm very grateful also at this point, you know, I have staff, I have an office, you know, the business does well. But it took a long time to get there. But I don't think you'll get anywhere good if you don't struggle to get there, because you don't appreciate it otherwise. I really don't think you appreciate it if you don't go through any of those things.
Was the connection with AKA a change moment? You said in an interview that I read that he pursued you for 4 months.
Yes,
Why
he
didn't you
did.
want the business?
I didn't want the business because I didn't like him.
Okay.
I just, you know, he wasn't very famous at the time. He'd had a couple of singles out. And just through the industry, I had, you know, heard he was very arrogant, and the few interactions I had with him, I just didn't like him. And then his management kept pursuing me. And then one day, and I was sitting in Taboo in a nightclub, and his manager came up, and I was standing in a corner, and he literally cornered me, and he was like, just give us the meeting. I was like, okay, fine, you know, fine. Just so I can have fun. And I ended up meeting him, and I sat down and I spoke with him, and I really enjoyed our conversation. And it turned out that actually his cousin is married to my cousin.
Okay.
And, you know, that was a common point, and we ended up talking. And I just said to him, listen, I'm already rude. I don't need to deal with someone like you. So we're going to have to find a balance in here. I don't need these diva tactics with you. And we just got along so well, and the relationship took off. And, you know, my business took off as much as his career took off. And we really helped each other get things off the ground. And I mean, I'm very appreciative of him for that, and I know he appreciates me for that as well. And I mean, we still talk to this day. I'm no longer his publicist, but we still have a good relationship, yes.
But that became a kind of niche market for you.
Very much so. I mean, I've always, the celeb side of it, we originally took on actors and actresses. But I grew up with hip hop. You know, my first love in terms of music is hip hop, and my brother introduced me to the genre of music when I was 11. And you know, he introduced me to every female rapper first that there was, and then he introduced me to everybody else, and I just had this love for hip hop and R&B, and you know, when I found that I could actually take that love of music and help people, you know, pursue their careers in it, it was something I definitely wanted to see. But that's very much, and still is very much, a passionate side of the business. The side that makes us the money and keeps our reputation going well is the corporate side of the business, as well as event management. But I don't think I'd ever give up the celeb side of it. I just, you know, there's nothing like seeing someone's eyes just glow and they smile on their face, you know, when they win their first award, their first interview, they just to see someone's dreams come to fruition like that. You can't buy that kind of happiness for someone. So to play a part in it, it's really nice.
And
to be able
often
to do
artists are so focused on what they do that they can't handle
don't
this
think
other
the rest
stuff.
of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we have some amazing artists in South Africa, and they're really good creatively. But you cannot do this without a team. You need people behind you that are going to, while you're stuck in studio, that are going to pursue your career for you outside, the interviews, getting your music on the radio, just getting the best person to shoot your music video. Yes. It's very hard, and also just to tell you how to have an interview, how to conduct yourself in public, how to conduct yourself on social media. You know, that's really hard if you have never had that kind of training before. So you know, artists are very much creatives, and that's all they're really good at. So you have to have a team behind you if you want to make it work. Yeah,
make it a partnership.
Yes, definitely.
You're now branching out into Nigeria.
We've branched out into Nigeria. We've had our office there since 2011. Okay. we are looking at opening other offices around Africa.
How do you experience that? Is the Nigerian market, is Lagos very different from Johannesburg?
Oh yes, everywhere is different from South Africa. I mean, I travel a lot within Africa. I absolutely love my continent. Because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Africa is the future. And I don't believe Africa is the future, because I believe Africa is the now. You know, we really are doing everything now. And that's why everybody else is coming to us now. If you look at international music videos, there are, you know, you look at Beyonce, for instance. I mean, it's African dances in there. It's African wear. Even her sister Solange, I mean, even though she's performing in America, it's African wear, it's African traditions. So we need to be very proud of the fact that people are now coming to us and realizing how amazing we are now. And I hate people who say Africa is the future, because we're going to be the now for a very long time. Please understand that. So it's amazing. I love traveling on the continent. And I think, you know, I've always said that this company will never go to Europe or Australia or Asia or anywhere else. I very much want to build within Africa. I feel that, you know, this is my child's future, and I feel like this is where I need to contribute.
Yeah. But how did you experience that first opening yourself up to a different environment?
Even though I am African and South African, you know, we very much think we're the America of Africa.
Yes.
And everything is here. But going into the rest of Africa is amazing. Wow, you have no idea. Like I don't even think we touch the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what Africa really is about. Nigeria was very much a culture shock for me, and very hard to get into, because
in what way culture shock?
I think in terms of, it's still very male dominated. It's, you know, it's not as easy to get around. Even the infrastructure is very different. The way everything is run, even running a press conference is just completely different to what you would do when you do here. And that was a lot for me to understand and get used to. And also, just like meetings, for instance, people don't have meetings in Nigeria during the day. They just don't. Everybody works. Nobody answers emails. You have to phone people, and you meet them in the evening when they have time. And then you get your meeting done. And the next day, whatever is from that meeting will be implemented during the day. But they don't have meetings during the day. Like, they're just not those people.
Yeah. The rhythm is different.
Very different to us. A little bit slower. Also, just catching up from the PR side, it's a little bit different. But amazing ideas and creativity. When you work with people from Nigeria or from Ghana or from wherever, it's very different, but just absolutely amazing. Like I said, it was a culture shock. It's very male dominated. It took me a long time to get in there. That's why we only opened there in 2011, because, you know, being a woman, being a light-skinned woman in Africa, the rest of Africa, is very hard. And just the cultures are so different. Therefore, you know, wherever I go and I want to do business, I always try and go there beforehand. Just understand the culture a little bit so I don't offend anybody. Just understand, you know, who you're dealing with, who are the ball players in that country, and who you need to know and who you need to network with. Because you can't just go in there and think you're going to go and do business. You really have to understand who you're doing business with. Yeah.
You talk a lot about your daughter. How did she change your life? Do you remember her being born, holding her the first time?
I do. I was in labor for 3 days.
Oh.
So I remember that very clearly. And I was very stubborn, because the doctor wanted to do a C-section. And I was like, no, if this is the only child I'm ever going to have, I want to have natural birth. I want to experience this. If I never have kids again, this is what I want to... And I spent 3 days in labor, and she slept the whole time. They kept monitoring me, and she slept the whole time. So they tried to wake her up so maybe it would, you know, get things moving, and she just wasn't having it. Eventually, I went into labor, I think 4 o'clock the Monday morning, and I eventually gave birth at 4:45 in the afternoon on the Wednesday.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah, so it was a lot. Amazing experience. I remember I was so scared of being a mom. I mean, I never wanted kids. My family always knew this. I even got married on the basis that, you understand, I don't want children, right? And I got pregnant, and I cried for 9 days straight, because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a terrible mother. I don't know how to handle myself, never mind a child. And I had this beautiful baby girl. And she was born and she didn't cry. And, you know, the doctor clears the air and she did nothing. And she just opened her eyes and the doctor was like, oh my God, she's so forward. Why is she so, like she was awake. And they gave it to me and I was like, what do you want me to do with her? I was so shocked. And then they took her and then she started crying. And my husband at the time, he started singing to her and talking and she was quiet. And I just remember looking at this bundle and thinking, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I was in at that time, if you had natural birth, you had to stay compulsory. You had to stay in the hospital for 3 nights. And cesarean was 5 nights. And I stayed in for the 3 nights. And every night I sent her to the nursery. And my ex-husband said to me, what's wrong? Are you scared of the baby? And I'm like, listen here. For the rest of my life, even when she's 18 and she's out in the club, I'm going to lay in bed and worry about this child every day for the rest of my life. Give me these 2 nights to sleep. And he was like, okay, I get it. And I think she was about 6 and she went to stay over at his house and she was sick. And he was up all night and he said, you know, I finally understood what you meant by wanting to sleep those 2 nights. So yeah, it's been it still is an amazing experience. Yeah. She's a little adult. She's my mother. She asks me where I'm going, asks me why my skirt is too short, tells me she's gonna leave the keys for me. Do I have a remote before I walk out the house? Like she's my little PA at home. But she's 11. She cooks. You know, she loves to bake. So I'll go out. By the time I come home, there's scones and cream and jam at home. Like she keeps herself busy. But she's constantly telling me she needs a sibling, so yeah.
And?
I'm busy.
Busy working on it, or too busy?
I'm busy growing an empire. Okay, I'm trying to keep her in shoes. For now. I'd like another child, but not right. Maybe not right now. We'll see how it goes. We'll see.
And your home? What's your home like? Where is it? How did you choose it? Why?
Johannesburg, Morningside. I chose my home. The minute I walked in on the driveway, and there's these 3 little steps that will go up to the porch. I made an offer before I even went into the house. I just knew. I knew this was where I wanted to bring my child up. I mean, you know, up until we've been there 3 years. So up until she was 9, we'd literally moved every year. We were renting places. And when we moved into the house, my daughter said to me, you know, Mommy, I really want to put this painting up, but do you think it'll leave marks when we move out? And I said, baby, this house, you can do anything. This one is ours. When you're in matric, that's the tree I'm going to take. You're going to stand next to the tree. I'm going to take a picture of you there because this is where we're staying. So you can paint this room. If there's a hole in it, it's not going to be a problem. And that was a lot for her to understand that concept.
What was it that spoke to your heart as you walked in?
I love entertaining. And I think that was one of the things that was really important to me to, you know, so she could have birthday parties and I could have dinner parties. And
so
the garden
space
is
and light.
Space and light. And also just the garden is huge. And I wondered, no matter where we've lived, no matter where we've rented, I've always had a garden. I always said my child is never going to grow up in an apartment. If I can afford to not have her playing on a balcony and me having this paranoia about her falling off or not being able to even go outside, then I'm not going to live there. So having a home, which is hers, was something really important for me. Even if we had nothing else, you know, a roof over her head that was hers, that she grew up with memories. I mean, I want my child to come home from university and see the little marks she made on the wall, you know, because she measures herself every couple of months. I want her to see those things. I need her to have a childhood, yeah.
All of the very, very best. I can just see African Star rising.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Until next time, you be well.